Yo, this is Isaiah from Radkey, and you are watching John the Ninja.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's John the Ninja. You know this is live in the dojo, aka the Dojang. This is the John the Ninja Studios today. I'm really excited. I've met these guys before. I've talked to them. Philly Kung Fu Necktie, where I had one of the best concert experiences of my life. I was there to see them and another band. But here's the situation. The man I'm speaking with today is in a trio band with his brother. Since 2010, they've been making waves, not just in the rock world, but we're talking the world of music. They started to tour, and let me tell you some of the people they've toured with: the Foo Fighters, Jack Wright, even opened for a festival for Rachel Ray, The Offspring, Jane's Addiction, Cheap Trick, L7. Shout out to Jennifer. The funk icons Fishbone, who are always sold out, not a bad way to go. And they've appeared at Lollapalooza, Download Festival, Reading, played Jules Holland, which is a huge deal if you don't know who that is. Guys, and that's not even a quarter of the resume. Geez, these homeschool kids would listen to their father's record collection, gravitating to comics, video games, and TV. After watching Jack Black's School of Rock, they finally started to play. But once they committed, that's when something truly special started to happen. And they decided to use their family name. They don't go by Radcliffe, not Radkai, not Radkey, men. It's Radkey, guys. And the band being D on guitar and singing, Solomon on drums, and the man I'm speaking to today, Isaiah, the fantastic running around, almost like Angus Young, but with his own little twist, bass player. They're guided by their father, known as Dad Radke, but we call him Matt, who has done a little bit of traveling of his own. Shout out to Grandpa Thor Hagen, who is also a wrestler. But the guys have released a slew of LPs, EPs, two that you would know and should know of: Delicious Rock Noise, Strange Cats, and the newest one, The Green Room. They've committed their lives to playing rock and roll, even have a song committed to Lord Beerus of Dragon Ball Z, and they were featured on Adult Swim. So many numerous accomplishments. But the big thing about this is these guys are their own entity and their own sound. So, bringing to you guys, coming back to Philadelphia this Thursday to the Kung Fu Necktie, and October 10th with L7. Guys, Isaiah Radke of Radke. My man, how are you?
Doing good, doing good.
You're looking good, man. Goodness gracious.
Thank you.
Oh my God, it's so good to see you again. It's good to chop it up, man. Coming back to Philadelphia after monumentous touring with all these bands, The Offspring, then the Foo Fighters, and on your own again. You know, you guys have storied times in Philadelphia, and I'm curious, what are you most looking forward to coming back to the city? Are there any crazy stories? Have you gotten to do some sightseeing? What is your dig in Philadelphia, man? How are you feeling coming back?
Well, we've not been able to do too much sightseeing. We are around pretty often, but like we're usually kind of just chilling at Kung Fu Necktie, and that's what's cool is that's like our spot there. So we're we're stoked to be getting back and to be playing some new songs, and we're stoked that we're able to make that show work on this run.
Before we move on, this sparked my imagination. You guys love your cats. They're a lot. You guys have one named Pepperoni Soup. And I already
Hmm.
know that's a King of the Hill reference. That's my favorite show,
Yep.
man. So who named the cat? Who's the King of the Hill fan? Like that I was like, I know that name.
Yep, that's my cat. I named her. Yeah, we were watching King of the Hill, and then that episode came on, and we heard the name, and we were just like cracking up, and I was just like, man, this is her name, 100%. She's Pepperoni Sue.
And that's pretty great, man. Again, I love that show, but the one thing I always go back to when I tell people about you guys is the love and the bond you brothers have. And of course, in the interviews, you guys mention it over and over again. Like, you really don't fight. You guys really just connect. If there's an issue, it's settled pretty quickly. You know, knowing that you guys were adopted, I always see different stories from kids that are adopted. Have you ever seen Four Brothers, where you see those four brothers and, like, no matter what, they're fiercely loyal? That's kind of how I attribute you guys. So I wanted to know what the dynamic was for you and your family, knowing what was it like when you found out, like, oh, we are adopted, and how did that strengthen the bond that you guys have?
We actually aren't adopted. We Saul and we're from dad, and then D, he is from mom, but like just a different dad. So he's not like fully adopted or anything, but like we've all just kind of, once D's like dad was out of the picture way earlier, that was kind of a thing we learned later, that like D had a biological dad. We're like, oh wow, because we didn't even guess for so long. And then uh but yeah, it's been something. But yeah, it's we've been extremely close, and then like it was never a thing, especially since it took a while for us to even like learn about it.
And back to your dad, who his story in itself is just truly amazing. Not just with his grandfather, but him and your uncle paving way, doing their own music, doing their own stuff. His love for you guys is what always shows through. I remember from the movie, the one you guys did with Dave Grohl, he said, if you were to tell me I could quit my shitty job at Walmart and just follow my favorite band, watch my kids do what they love, and I love it too, I wouldn't have believed you. That is so important, so ingrained. But I'm always curious because when I met you guys, it was definitely the rock and roll environment.
Hmm.
People smoking, people doing this, the girls doing their thing as well. So seeing how nonchalant he was with you guys, I was wondering, you are from a Christian-based home. What is the dynamic between you and your dad? Is he kind of like you guys are grown men, do as you please, just be safe about it? Or is he had times where he had to reel you back in? Because he is protective. He had times D had a knife thrown at him, some people trying to confront you over certain regulations you guys for the band. So what's the dynamic between dad and the guys?
Well, back in the day, since we were homeschooled, we were all real close, and then when we went out on the road, we all knew each other pretty well, so we weren't really that crazy. Like we would definitely get into some like rockin' times, but we were all, pretty old at that point, and we never went, too crazy. Like we were always really focused on the show and being able to play like the next show and things like that. So yeah, things were always pretty smooth. There wasn't a whole lot of like, we want to do this and we can't and this and that. Like, because with like a busy touring schedule, there's like not a whole lot. There was never, even to this day, a whole lot of time to do much.
Going back to it, you guys were so driven. Your dad took upon himself. He said, "Hey, I see what you're doing. I will support you. Just worry about writing the music." And he pretty much took the brunt of the managerial skills. Even though your uncle designed the Radkey logo, your dad, he's been doing design, so he loves doing the posters and the t-shirts, but he really dug in deep to get the context to make sure everything logistically would work for you guys. How I was curious what the dynamic between you guys and your mom was, because you do seldomly mention her, but I'm curious, like, okay, Christian household, was she a little bit more stricter with the Christian elements, or was it kind of like my mom and dad were just pretty much, you find your way and we'll support you? What's the relationship you get from your mom, and how do you feel she's also influenced you by the way you are playing on stage?
Yeah, like as far as we were out on the road touring all the time, and our mom and dad actually ended up separating, so we didn't actually get to spend the most time together when we were doing the hard part of the grind, but uh we still have a really good relationship and talk to each other all the time. And like, she was at the Foo Fighters show, she comes to shows and the local shows, and we still hang out like whenever we have like, like a month off or like a couple weeks here and there. But yeah, it's just kind of crazy. A lot of things changed since we were growing up, little homeschool kids. Like a lot of a lot of things happened. There was just a lot of road time, like just an impossible amount of road time, and that really changes things up.
Mhm. But that also calluses you a little bit. It's part of the journey. You know, Again, just thinking of the stories of like your dad protecting you guys. Have you ever had a situation where it got really out of hand? Or even better, have you ever had a really awkward situation where dad stumbled in on you guys? Because it's so much that can happen just at a show, but you guys are just living on the road at that point.
Totally. I mean, not too much. We're all pretty well coordinated. We all generally kind of know where each other are at and stuff. So things we always like to think of ourselves kind of like Rush. Like we were always pretty like, we would smoke and drink some here and there, like mostly smoking now, but like, you know, uh besides that and like getting rest and stuff, it's like we've always been pretty boring. Like we're kind of big into gaming, and like we're still kind of socially awkward. Like we just went out to see Cheap Trick a couple days ago. Like we get out to try to socialize with people here and there.
Well, you guys obviously are doing well because when I, again, so many years removed and the other times you came, it's nothing but good stuff. Like those guys are genuine, and I think that's the key. But back to the video games, my man. What you playing now? Because I know you like your Final Fantasy VII and the Elder Scrolls, but
Hmm.
what we on now?
Yeah, we're playing Final Fantasy 14. We're playing a lot of Destiny 2, which is crazy. We were just playing one of the Destiny pros just a couple minutes ago, right before this interview. Like we play in like the high level lobbies, which is cool. Like because we've got some downtime. Like so, for instance, instead of getting into a bunch of trouble, generally we're playing so much hardcore gaming to where we can get to the level to play like those professionals. So like that's a pretty fun hobby for us is playing Destiny and like I've been playing Knights of the Old Republic 2 just the last week and yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, you got to do a song on BioShock. I just see
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
day. But you mentioned how you guys feel that you're awkward, and being that you guys are in a genre where even though black artists pretty much inspired it, we're still the minority in rock music. There's wonderful musicians that influence all the time. There's musicians now. You think of Gary Clark Jr. and then you go back to Jimi Hendrix and then people loving all our African American artists, but I'm curious when you were going through that grind, like the initial Sony absorbed the other record company, and you started to see how, like, oh, attitudes can change on a flip of a dime
Hmm.
toward you guys. How much of the racial bias did you actually come in contact with? Or do you feel that because of your race, you had to be like, oh, we have to watch what we say a little bit more because they might misinterpret? Or, bro, like you said last time, you guys sent a demo to a club and they were like, yeah, we don't do rap music. It's like, bro, what?
Hmm. Yeah, totally. So that was always something that we thought would be kind of a thing, but like only right in the beginning in St. Joe, like we were able to really get shows and stuff. But where we felt the race stuff came into the mix was I felt like we were still in the time where a lot of labels really didn't know how to package like a band like us, like because we play like Cheap Trick, like Foo Fighters type like rock music, and like a lot of places want to package you as just like a straight up punk band and things like that. And that's the only way that they can really market you is like, they're like the Bad Brains or like I have no idea. Like and it was tough because to really stand out in whenever like there was other bands that even were remotely like us, it was like it was either they would get all the gigs and then when they were gone, like the next band, like and then finally like we're kind of one of the only ones left. And then like we get, sweet gigs and stuff. But like it I would hope that at some point or even hopefully soon, it just becomes a lot more normal and we can get more bands like us like at once, and it just not just being like, there's Radkey, then I guess in Living Color, and like Bad Brains, and then like Fishbone, and then like that's it. Like as far as like straight rock,
And I always feel it was a shock to me because a lot of guys I just linked up with from high school, I was the only rock kid in the school. I love all music, but rock and hip hop. And then years later,
Mm-hmm.
they're like spitting out like, yeah, man, we used to love AC/DC. We like Rage Against the Machine. I was like, why didn't you tell me this? I'm all alone. Like, speaking of Rage Against the Machine, I just saw them in New York last month. And I legit always go hard. I'm headbanging, even though it's air guitar. I came away from that show for like a week sore. My neck hurt, my
Mm-hmm.
arm hurt. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why my leg is hurting. And then I think about the way you present yourself on stage. Your dad said that you got a little Michael Anthony in you with a lot of Angus Young, but you're your own. And I question, I wonder when before the show are you aware like, yo, I gotta warm up, I have to stretch because I'm about to be doing some crazy stuff. Do you feel like Cliff from Metallica, like headbanging the next day? It's like, oh my God, my neck, because we look at like other artists, especially I would like to say from Megadeth, Dave Mustaine's like, yo, man, I can't headbang anymore. I did it so much, my neck's messed up. So where are you in the
Totally.
spectrum of, you're still going to go all out and I'm with you, but concerned about the future, or do you at least prepare by working out or trying to stretch?
Yeah, do yoga. I work out for a while. Like I do like cardio type stuff before tour, definitely. And I over the years I would hurt myself a little more, do a little more crazy things. But over the years I've been able to fine tune different little techniques and ways to do things that seem pretty intense, but actually on my body it's a lot more of a rolling type, like not so bad motion, like things like I used to fall straight on my back and I've gone to like kind of rolling and doing, things that are a little less crazy. And as far as like the head banging, like I've just kind of found like I've done it a lot and also have found maybe like a less strenuous way to strenuous, yeah, way to do my neck basically during a head bang. Like I try to keep myself a little loose.
Man, you listen. Your grandfather's wrestling is coming in. The way everything you're saying, I can hear now. It's amazing how
Mm-hmm.
all comes back, in some way or form. I want to know what about the bass is, that ultimate instrument of your voice. We all know the story of how like D was on guitar and then you picked up the bass and then Saul got on the drums, but you guys can all play a certain instrument, and I'm a firm believer there's always that one instrument that calls to you. As much as I say, yo, I'm better on the bass or I can kick it on the drums, and I'm very, humble about it, there's no doubt in my mind that guitar is that ultimate instrument to express my voice, even though I feel like I
Mm-hmm.
perform better on a different one. So what about the bass was that ultimate, this is my voice?
Well, I really dig bass players like John Entwistle and like Paul McCartney, and I really liked how as a bassist you can really be a really interesting type of musician, and there aren't a whole lot of bass players like that. So if you could find a way to kind of be like an interesting bassist, you could really stand out quite a bit. And I always felt that I could bring something to like the bass world, like kind of in some ways like Mike Dirnt did. Like he there's not a whole lot of bassists like him, and and like a like Angus Young or whatever. Like I'm trying to do some kinds of guitarist type things, uh, as far as performance, things you wouldn't normally see a bassist going out and kind of doing out in front of people.
And it is a spectacular show to watch, guys. And the dynamic of you talking, D setting up, even though watching you guys back and forth, it's just it's again, it's poetry in motion. That's how I like to look at it. But going back to when you had the deal, you guys were absorbed. You said it calloused you. Dealing with that. I was curious, what was the hardest lesson when you finally got the idea behind how cruel and quick the music business can be to a band? What was the first thing that kind of set it off and it's like, oh, we kind of have to protect ourselves once that particular one was actually absorbed by Sony?
Things, were just it was just getting kind of lost in the shuffle. Like we had this new music like for No Strange Cats, and that we thought that that was some of our best music at the time, and it was our new stuff. And it was just going to be kind of hard to get it out, and we were thinking, if this stuff isn't good enough, like we went really hard on it. I don't know what you would have to do, like almost completely pivot your sound and change to like a different band, more popular band sound, and we were never into that type of thing, so it was just rough. So we were able to somehow get that release out, and then we were able to work things out, and then yeah, it was just something, because we were like, we're gonna have to find ways to get our music pushed, because the same thing happened with Delicious Rock Noise when it was Dark Black Makeup. It was originally, the label was just kind of like, I mean, this isn't what we wanted. Then we get another label, and that's the one that ended up getting absorbed by Sony, ends up pushing it, and it does really well and really helps establish our band, like the same record that got passed on. So it's just like kind of a cycle of like, a label seeing you do well, signing you, not liking your new thing, making it hard. Like it was just a lot of that. So once we started doing Little Man Records, we really kind of were able to get more things just out to the fans, and that was great. Especially when we did our No Strange Cats vinyl release, like that. We were able to sell a lot of those, and that just proved that there was a demand.
and we're gonna get to how genius you guys are with interacting with your fans. But for me, like hearing that, this music's really great and whatnot, and then people are passing over it, it's kind of weird. It's like, what's the taste or what is the ultimate goal of that particular people? But the people have spoken, they love your music. You said that, Fooled and Ready to Stand were probably the songs that you based Radkey's sound off of. But when I listen to songs, especially Marvel's a cover, and you guys made it way more than your own. And then we go back to like all the other ones. My man, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, is it Dark Black Makeup, Delicious Rock Noise? Go get it, get the CD, the vinyl, and all that. But we're looking at like Romance Dawn and Seas from the latest LP. I feel like the sound has evolved. You finally found that particular like no more comparisons. What would now be the song that you say if you had to show somebody, hey, this is Radkey and this is us? No more comparisons. We're not dancing. We're not punk. We're Radkey. What would it be?
Well, we've got a new song coming out on the 23rd. It's going to be called Better Than This. And that one's going to be a really good look into our kind of original sound. Like, same with like our song Bend. That's another one that's really very Radkey type song. And Judy, like C's Portraits. We've got like a really weird kind of sound. And like, we really kind of dig those, like since we've been able to write some kind of weird songs like that, we've been digging that.
Now, going back to the fans, I'm only going to mention Marvel again because you guys recently posted on Facebook, like, what songs do you guys want to see? And a lot of them were saying, we want to see Marvel. Marvel is my favorite tune, bro. I even made a solo during the little breakdown that I always record just for fun. I think it's the only solo I've ever constructed with some thought.
That's awesome.
But the idea behind it, it is a cover. I wanted to know, one, are you guys gonna actually throw it into the set list? And two, whose idea was it to take that Lemon song and actually work with it, keep the breakdown? What is your memories from it?
That one is interesting because it's been a long time since we played it, so it's kind of tough. We don't actually aren't very rehearsed on it. There's that, but then also what's cool is that that was the song that we did when we first signed to our new label. We worked with Bill Stevenson on that song, and that was just kind of like our label dude Don. He was like, there's this song from this band I used to manage. Was the Lemons, and then they played this awesome song we wanted to do some more stuff with. So if you guys wanted to record this song with Bill, then that'd be cool. So we were like, cool, like, we'll go to Colorado and hang out and record a song, because we weren't super familiar with like Descendants or any of that. So we were both like fresh meeting each other, just like it's like fresh musicians kind of. So we learned about each other and became friends and learned about each other's bands through recording this cover song. So it was a really interesting thing that we did. And yeah, that was the story of how we ended up going to record Blasting Room for all of No Strange Cats, like we did at Blasting Room with Bill. And it was all because of how good we got along with recording Marvel.
And going on to the green room too, you guys had to produce that one yourself. Now, being that I've
Mm-hmm.
got my hand in music and audio and engineering, it was really weird going from like, okay, I'm just recording and then somebody else will handle it. And then it's like, oh my God, I really have to pay attention to the levels and the sound and the distortion. Maybe this needs a little bit more, a little bit less. You know, when you had to step into that seat, who do you think out of the group really said, you know what, I'm in charge? Because everybody, it's a democracy. You all work together.
Mm-hmm.
But where's that one brain? It's like Iron Maiden with Steve Harris. There's a final say. Who really took over for that particular production?
What was cool was we had an awesome engineer, so we were able to Dwayne, and he was able to do a lot of the level type stuff. And then like we had, with working with Ross Orton and Bill Stevenson, doing those sessions that we ended up doing those few times, we had learned enough about production to try to do some songs. And then once those kind of went well, we just kind of kept going. And we just had Ross. At first, we had our first round of songs mixed by Blasting Room, and that was cool. So we kind of got to work together during the pandemic, and then this recent batch of songs we've had Ross, who did Delicious Rock Noise. He produced it. He's been mixing, so it's been cool to kind of work together. We want to like work with like Ross again, or like Bill, like, whenever the schedules allow it and we get the time to like be able to travel, and like, COVID's not like a big deal anymore. Like once that kind of thing's going, we'll be able to do more than just like be in different countries mixing stuff together and all that.
Awesome. And back to the marketing and how you guys with the fans. I know COVID was really trying times. I've talked to other musicians. Some had a really good time as far as boosting the band. Others, on their last heels trying to survive. But you guys, I feel, really gained even more followers. You used, and a lot of people don't like streaming, but it really put you guys to the forefront. Your Patreon exploded, and all of this as far as the marketing. What are some more marketing goals that you guys have? Because again, back to it. Hey guys, what do you want to see? Fans blowing up the DMs. Hey guys, free tickets to these shows. Who wants in? Blowing it up. You guys are really cornering what it's supposed to be like for that fan interaction. Everybody feels like, yo, we got access to them. We're friends. We're on that level.
Hmm.
What are more marketing goals to keep pushing you guys? Because I think the best one is the street team, where you got people going out doing flyers for you, and then you give them rewards, shirts, vinyls, etc.
Cool. Like the stuff we've got going on, and basically all we're trying to do to add to that is we're just trying to make some more like assets and just kind of take more time to do like, flyers and like videos. Like we've got a couple up now, like tour videos. Some things we haven't really done a whole lot of. Like we've been learning more about like editing and things like that, so we're kind of trying to take some things to the next level with like Little Man Records, like trying to do some things that we were getting from labels that we actually are able to just do ourselves, like even more things. So it's been pretty sweet.
And then, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to check out their Rocking Life. It's on YouTube and it's pretty great clips smashed together, what it's like in the day of Radkey. You know, we're both people that look young. I still get carded when I'm, at a casino or at a bar, and it's a little weird thinking like what I was thinking a couple of years ago versus now. And I think where I've matured the most is my openness in music. A lot of bands that I would have necessarily listened to, I give them a chance, and it's like, oh, I understand that now, why it's like that, or you know what, it's not my take, but it's better than I thought. Back
Totally.
in interviews, you guys said that Three Doors Down, Shine Down, Nickelback, who I'm a shout out Nickelback, love you guys. You know, they were bands that were kind of like, oh, that's they're stupid, they're bad music. And when I was younger, I was definitely on that train. I was like, heavy metal rules. But one band that really impressed me was Striper. I owed them the biggest apology. When I was a Christian kid in school, I was like, I'll never listen to Striper. I didn't want a watered down rock. And then when I finally got to listen to them after high school and in college and saw them live, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so wrong. This is so metal. It has nothing to do with Christianity or being bad. It's just wonderful music. So, have you changed your stance on those bands, or are there bands that you've changed your stance on that you didn't necessarily like back in the day?
Yeah, like as we've gotten older, like and have made more things, like we've gotten a lot more kind of chill and less like as like a combat kind of stance type band. We've more been just like, you know, kind of enjoying what we in like what lets us have fun, and like kind of being like, man, if you're digging it and you're just like, you should just dig it. Like, who cares? Like, we're gonna have our things that we don't like, our things that we can kind of make fun of here and there. But yeah, we definitely don't spend as much time thinking about like, oh man, like false rock, this and that. Like, we definitely like we feel like we've proven and like put out there what we feel is our like message and what we feel like rock is like, and solos and choruses and all that. And like, and we're just kind of like, yeah, everyone's just gonna dig what they dig, and like, some things are just like, if it's not your thing, it's just, maybe you weren't there or like whatever.
So again, all these bands you've toured with, all these people, and I remember specifically speaking to Crowbot on who helped them while they were touring with these big acts. For me, I feel Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters in general, every single last one of them. Don't just think of Dave, guys, when you think Foo Fighters. They are preserving rock and roll history and music in general. They can play the other, and they do play covers, but I feel like they're the last rock band that still has connection to the past and is preserving it, but also forging forward. I was wondering, while on tour with such bands, was there anybody that specifically looked out after you guys? Like, hey, come here, man. Let me tell you something. How you doing? That's really cool. Because everybody's chill, but there's always that one person that goes out of their way. Let me tell you something. Let me warn you about something. Who was that person that was constantly like, hey, let me make sure you don't go through what I go through. I see something in you guys.
Yeah, I mean, everyone like had really good advice. Like I would say Jello Biafra was the person who really had great advice for us and like songwriting and like being a cool band. Like, he was Jello was awesome, and then like Dave, he really championed us and put our name out there to crazy levels. Like, and showed us what it was like to play some of these crazy big shows, and then solidified us as like a rock band that's out there. And then yeah, it's really been cool to have people like that. And then Paige from Helmet, like way back in the day, one of our rock shows, like he was super cool to us and took our EP, was encouraging. Yeah, it's really great when you meet cool people and then they end up being cool and think it's worth like encouraging young bands and making sure that they get out there.
Indeed. So I know you guys are coming back to Philly, and your tour is right about to kick off, man. But Sunday, Louder Than Rock, you guys are on a bill with all these great names. You got the Peppers and etc. I know you had a bad incident trying to meet Debbie Harry at a festival just to say hello. I'm a fan. Good luck. And then security's like, nah, bro, not today. So
Hmm.
are you still fearful of doing that?
Yeah, I've never done it since. Like, I basically will just wait, and if like we have enough cred, like maybe someone will come say hi to me. But oh yeah, ever since then, I that was like an experience. I was like, oh man, like wow, like the tiers, the levels that there are, and like you can be on like a low level and you can't even like be considered remotely in the same. It was a quite. So I've just avoided that. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
totally understand that level, that tier, that idea. So I got a speed round for you. Not too many questions, but you have to shout out what's the first thought or character that comes to mind when I say it. I believe I got five ready to go. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
All right. Favorite video game?
Probably Mario 64.
Favorite Dragon Ball Z character?
Yamcha.
Yamcha. Oh my God, my man. I'm
Yeah.
that's no. I want to hear it now. Why Yamcha, my man? That is bold.
Yeah.
That you're a
Yeah.
Dragon Ball fan
Yamcha.
at this point.
Yeah. Totally. It goes back to Dragon Ball. Like he was a really cool character back then, and leading up until the first season of Dragon Ball Z, he was still pretty cool. He went out like with a bang.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great to hear though. He gets so much trash now. Oh
Hmm.
man. Yeah, shoot, I can't even continue. All right, Marvel.
Yeah.
Favorite character in Marvel.
It's Iron Man, but this goes back way back to like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man days. Like I was an Iron Man, like going to rent the TV show, the cartoon, and watching on Fox Kids and stuff. So I was an Iron Man guy back in I still am, but like, things got kind of crazy.
Favorite rapper or rap group.
It's probably going to be Tribe Called Quest.
I ain't gonna lie, that's my. I just saw Busta Rhymes do his rhyme with Wu Tang. It was great.
That's awesome.
And then favorite DC character.
DC character is going to be Dick Grayson Robin.
Oh gee, my man. I always end these interviews with the most important question. What's the best piece of advice somebody has bestowed on you? It could have been dad, it could have been a random stranger. It could have been funny. I've been told never buy a tour bus, rent one. But I've also been told things as simple as just live or Ted Aguilar, Death Angel, feel fast, learn quickly. You don't know what's going to happen. Do your best. So, what's something that, even though you might not be thinking of it, it's always in the back of your mind, it hits you, and it just comes out from time to time that somebody else gave you. You didn't conceive it or contrive it yourself.
Yeah, I would say it was when I can't remember exactly. I want to say it was Damien from the Giraffes. I want to say he told us that people like Jello Biafra, Dave Grohl, people like when they talk to you about your band being cool or dig your band and stuff like that, that forms like a really nice shield over you for any type of like negativity you can get. Like you can always be like, that shield's gonna block a lot of that type of stuff off. And we got a good amount of that early in our career, which we are really fortunate, for.
Indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, the future Hall of Famer, Isaiah Radke of Radke, coming to Philadelphia this Thursday. I'm pointing it there. It is on my calendar. You should come with me. There are tickets that you can still buy. I suggest that. You can also go to their Facebook, IG, and Patreon, try and win some for free. And then you can also go and try and buy some of their merch. Guys, I'm telling you, I still got this baby. Signed by all three guys. I love them to death.
Excellent.
And they're the greatest dudes you'll ever meet as far as being personable and nice. But Isaiah, thank you so much for your time, my brother.
Thank you.
And everyone else, remember, be smart, be mindful, go buy some Radkey stuff. And God bless you. Ninja out.
Rock on.
Woo, baby, you listen to John the Ninja. Oh, your ears are about to go on a vacation. John the Ninja's got what you need.